What a good boy. You good boy. Good boy. Hey everyone, it's been a long time since I've done a video, and since we are under shelter-in-place order here in California, I figured it was no better time to put together a video walkthrough of my kayak rig, the Native Slayer 10. So, I don't know, stick around. Maybe you learn something, new, maybe you get a new idea to do some DIY stuff to your own kayak. So I hope you enjoy. Alright, so here is the rig. It's a Native Slayer 2018. It's a 10-foot yak. I think it's might be like 10 and a half. I'll give you a quick walk through here. Seamus, get out of the way. So here, we might as well just start from the beginning. So I have my net here in a, I think there's a Yak Attack paddle mount, and it works just as well for my net here. And this net is a Everlast that's been modded with about, I think it's like a 1.5 inch PVC. Obviously put some orange duct tape around it and some grip tape, some wind grip around it, just to get a little more length on it. I think they sell them now at this actual length, so but this was before then, so I had to build my own. So that's what that is. I'll move this out of the way real quick, and we will talk about what's going on here underneath the hood. Here I have the battery pack that I built. I just got some, I think this is a battery box from, I forget if it was Amazon or Harbor Freight, I forget. But what I've done is, let's see if I can get that back, get a good look here. So I just drilled some holes and bought some parts off Amazon, and you can see here, actually post it up so you can actually see what's going on. So here real quick, this is just a 12-volt socket. Actually I'll put in a inverter if I need to actually plug in like a 2-prong outlet type of thing. There's my USB right here, the voltmeter, actually power button, the actual gauge. I don't know if you can see that gauge. It's always at 77%. That's like 100. I don't know why it won't change. And then the I think there's an SAE port for my transducer fish finder dealie. Actually, it's just the fish finder power. That's what that's for. So built this pretty easy. I should probably put together a video of what that looks like, but maybe I'll do that another time. But this is what the insides look like. Amped outdoors. It's a pretty cheap battery for lithium power, and then all the funky wiring in there. Pretty simple. If you just you can Google the blueprints, or not the blueprints, the wiring diagram on Google and put that to yourself. I have a little bit of Velcro on the back here. I have some industrial strength Velcro here, and I obviously have the Velcro there to keep it in place for rough waters. And what I'll do is, actually I've got if I can get this out of the way here, I've got this USB to my iPhone, which I will plug into the front here, USB port, and then I've got a splitter for the power to the fish finder, and also I have more power. I have a USB actually in the back for my rear GoPro mount that I actually plug in here too. So that's all that's underneath the hood, and I'll keep like lunch or something in here, whatever. So put that back real quick. Alright, so let's see here. And that power, just to continue talking about that, here's the USB. I'm using like a Hobie wire through kit here for the USB power for my iPhone. I'll just actually pull that out and kind of wrap it around my drive, and then just plug it into this phone mount that I have on a RAM mount to my drive. And let's see here. Oh, and then yes, this is the power that goes to the fish finder. I'll run it along here around this Yak Attack mount, underneath into the rail, the track rail, and then actually underneath this mount, this is the transducer, not the power that I'm talking about. So the power runs underneath it, and then over and then up in here into my Garmin 93 SV. And the transducer cable, which I've actually tied to my drive and wrapped it around, and I've mounted my transducer here on the cavitation plate. Just drilled some holes, some zip ties, and it's going through the normal holes in the transducer, and I just kind of mount it there with a little bit of Velcro just to make sure it doesn't slip around, and it works just fine. So it goes up and down with the drive, which is great. And that transducer cable goes around here, goes through the track, and then back up into the Garmin itself, and it works just fine. That's the way I've had it for a very long time, and I haven't had any problems with it. So let's see here, what else we got going on. So we'll run back here a little bit. We can talk about the seat just a little bit. The seat, I've got the under seat storage, which works really well. Let's see if I can pull something out of here. What do I got going on here? Oh yeah, so here I've got my tray with a bunch of miscellaneous things. Some Junior Magic, some Spike It, some scents, things like that. Usually I have my fishing license in here, but I think it's in my bank fishing bag right now. And then it's a little screwdriver just for, like, the seats got screws and things like that that you may want to fix. So I keep that underneath here. And then on the other side, oh, I don't have it right now, but on the other side I usually have all my terminal tackle just because I use it the most. And there's some pockets in here. This one should have my fish grips in there that I use whenever I catch, if I catch catfish or anything I don't want to put my hand in. Here I've got some pliers, and then some braid scissors, and in here I don't think I have anything. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, so that's it for my seat. Oh, I also got the seat risers here. These came from, I believe, Greg Massa was making them prior to Native's new higher seat. I think you can see those on the Max and some of the newer Slayers. But this has worked out great. It's really a game changer, putting 3 extra inches on the height of the default seat of this Native here. And this is a 2018, by the way, if I didn't mention that already. Let's see, we'll go around this side. And here I have some more Yakutech rod mount holders. And this is just for staging my rod. So sometimes I'll have 2 rods going. If I'm flipping in, I'm punching. I'll have, let's see here, I'll show you real quick. I'll have one rod here, just kind of chilling out, and then I'll be fishing with another one. And then if I get really crazy, I'll have one rod here, and then one rod here in this cup holder. So I'll actually have 2 rods being staged, and then fishing with the third one. But that's why I have that there, and I'll explain this here in a second. And then underneath the seat I will have my little KVD speed bag, which comes in pretty handy. Keep all my, not all of them, but some of my soft plastics, the ones that don't do well in a container in a 3600 box. I'll keep all those in there. I don't really use rod holders to kind of chill out. Here's my tether to my catch board, which I keep underneath my fishing storage box here, which I made with a milk crate, which most of you have. And then, you know, when I catch the fish, it's pretty easy. I just reach back here and pull it out to the front, kind of weigh my fish, or measure my fish, and then when I'm done, I will just slide it back in here and have it kind of tucked in there right underneath the fanny pack, which I have there. So I'll talk about this really quick. The storage I have is just a standard milk crate. I've modded it a little bit with a fanny pack, which I've wrapped around in front. I've taken the cords and I've done some zip tying here to extend the length of the belt. And what I keep in here are just some, you know, some extra line. And let's see what I got. Some wipes, just in case. That was Alice's idea. Just in case you need to use the restroom outdoors. Just got a knife tied on here. I've got some braid snips here. Just in case. I usually use the cudas I have in front, but sometimes I'll reach back here for whatever reason and use those snips. And let's see what I got in front here. I got my scale. Got a scale, my Propel scale. Got a flashlight for those first light launches. And then here I've got some bungee cord in there just in case you need to use it for anything. And then obviously I got the Boondocks landing gear with the upgraded C-Tug wheels, and this one's actually a little busted. You can see here it's been through some stuff, but these wheels I upgraded to those just because when you're taking these in and out of the water, the default wheels are buoyant, so it's hard to push these arms down into the water. So I got some that aren't buoyant, but those go straight down in the water, which is a lot easier, and it's a lot lighter actually to push around. So that leaves us at the storage that we have here. So this is just a normal milk crate, a 13 by 13 milk crate. What I've done is I've had some plastic cut for a lid, 13 by 13, just rounded edges. And you can get this, I forgot who makes this plastic that I ordered from, but you can order it online and they'll ship it to you. You can give them the dimensions, you can give them the material, and they'll just cut it for you and send it to you. And it's relatively cheap. I think it was only like 13, 14 bucks, like cut and shipped to me. And I just drilled some holes in there with some bungees to make a hinge, and yeah, just threw all my 3600 boxes in here. So I've got everything labeled just because it's easy for me to kind of pull from that. And these two, I know what these two are. One of them is going to be my buzzbait spinnerbait box, and the other one is going to be my swim bait, larger swim bait boxes. Some S wavers in there, some other random stuff, and then got my A-rig in a tennis ball container. I poked some holes in there so there's air and it doesn't get all rusty in there. But that's the inside here. And then I have attached oh, actually I have a bungee that goes on top, just so, you know, if for whatever reason, like, you know, if I do actually flip over, at least this kind of stayed closed, and this is bungeed down to the kayak itself. So ideally, if I ever, you know, flip my yak, all this would stay intact and this wouldn't pop open and things wouldn't fall out. It's one of my greatest fears, since you're traveling with so much gear that's worth so much money. So here I've put, obviously, you know, three rod holders all the way around, and all those are zip tied into the actual crate. I think 4 zip ties per. And you'll notice here something weird I got going on, is these little tabs. So these tabs, if you haven't figured out by now, I thought up this idea just because, again, like, I'm always terrified that I'm gonna flip my yak. And what I've done is I've drilled 2 holes. You see these, hole here and a hole here, into my rod holder. And this only works for bait casters because it's got this little trigger grip here. But I put some Gorilla Tape on here as a tab, as you can see. And what I'll do is, when my rod is in here, when my bait caster's in here, I'll just kind of pull this tab over and it sits right there. So again, if you're going under a tree, and you guys, you know, when you're fishing skinny water, you've seen it before, where the tree, you know, it may grab a rod and start pulling it out. So what this does is it kind of keeps it from coming out. It's not perfect, because I mean, if it turns a little bit, you may be able to wiggle it out, but I mean, it's better. I felt like it was better than nothing. So, you know, and even if I flip my yak, this bungee ideally will at least save like 1 or 2 rods. I mean, if hopefully all of them, but ideally this is just meant to keep it in there. And then I'll reach back, and when I need to grab a rod, I just flip it down like that, pull the rod out, easy peasy. And when I'm done putting the rod back in, I'll just pull that tab up over, and there it is. And it's in there. It's not, you know, like I said, it's not 100% like foolproof, but it does increase my percentages of keeping my rods if I wind up flipping the yak for whatever reason. So I have those on every single rod holder, and I don't have it on this one because I don't put rods in this one. It touches the steering plate here, which kind of hinders it, so I just leave this one open. So the most I'll ever have usually is just 6 rods, but I mean, sometimes when I'm pre-fishing for a tournament, you know, I'll fill all these up and I'll be running 8 rods, just trying to figure out a pattern before I downsize to maybe 6 for tournament day. Even on tournament day, I kind of like having everything here, just in case something changes and I can switch out, which is really nice. And you'll see here, if you looked, obviously I have the upgraded Burley Pro steering system and the rudder. Here it is right here. It's pretty awesome. I had the Boondocks one, the Boondocks rudder. This, I think it's like the steel one in orange, and it was fine, but it was just, I don't know, it kind of stuck out really far, and I didn't like that because I car top this kayak with Alice's kayak, and they kind of sit on top of each other, and that was really digging into her kayak, and I didn't want to mess up her kayak any. But I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, this is pretty much how it works. There's this I think it's called I don't know, it's this cotter pin or something. So you just pull this down, and there's your rudder. It gives you a little more control, a little more stability. And then to pick it back up, all you gotta do is bring that up and then just put that pin back in there, and it's good for travel. And I mean, technically you could just leave it in there if you wanted to. I don't know why you want to leave it in there, but you could leave it in there and fish it with it that way if you wanted to. Let's see, so making it over to this side, I already talked about the fish finder, but here for a paddle, because even though it is a pedal drive, you can always, I mean, when you're in skinny water, the drive's gonna be up, you gotta have a paddle, and just in case your drive breaks, you wanna have a paddle. And this is where the paddle goes. It's really sitting right on top of the handle, and I've just got a bungee around the handles, and then like I think it's like a 1 inch or a 1/2 inch ball mount here, and I've just kind of pulled the bungee over top of it, and it sits here on the side of the yak, and it works out pretty well actually. This sometimes I'll have to kind of push it down a little bit just to make sure the steering is free to go back and forth, but really it doesn't really affect it that much. So I mean, it's not an issue at all. So let's see, I think that's it for the yak. I mean, you know, this is what I use to tournament fish. It's worked out really well. It hasn't won me any tournaments, but I've kind of got it dialed in to where I know exactly where everything is. Everything's easily accessible, and I can get to things really quickly. So hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something. If you have any questions about how all this stuff is set up, or you know, how I put some of this stuff together, or where I got some of the gear, I will try to link to it as best as possible in the description. But feel free to drop a comment, like and subscribe. Otherwise, that's it guys. Thanks for watching.